Hello. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to model this game object in 3ds Max. So this image or this artwork was not designed by me. I found it on Pinterest, and you can find it here. So now you have all the information if you want to see it or reference to it. Okay, let's switch back to 3ds Max, and for now I want to load the reference image, so I will be using a plane. And I just move that to the back and apply a material. So as you can see, I already have a material loaded. In case you want to do that, most likely if you're using a newer version of 3ds Max, it will come with the physical material, so you would see something similar to this. You can still use this. All you have to do is just pick a material right here and use a bitmap and load the image and just apply it to the object, and you should be able to see it. So let's, and if you do not want to go through that headache with the applying the bitmap, you could also just take the image from a file browser and just drag and drop, and if you apply it, you can see it. And maybe you want to drop the reflection to 0, so it would not have any reflection on it. So if it has 1, it might, if you have a light, plays a role, so just to be safe. So right now I want to freeze this image, so I wouldn't be able to select it by mistake, but before I can do that, let me just make sure this is proportional, and then right click on under object properties. So I want to freeze and make sure that show frozen in gray is not selected, so it's unchecked. Then press OK, and now you should not be able to select the reference image by mistake. So let's go to the front. So for now I want to use a plane. For a lot of those elements, and I think if I started with the cylinder, I might have issues with the, or I might not, so let's see. So I haven't modeled this before, so I'm doing this live. So this is a bit high, so I'm gonna make it lower, maybe to maybe 8. Yeah, 8 sounds good. And let's remove all those segments. Just let it be 1, and then I want to zero it out, so we go into transform and just right click on the down arrow, and then right click here and convert it to an editable poly. So I'm not a big fan of this material, so I'm going to load this material in and just change the color to black. That way when it's deselected, I can see the gray and black wireframe. So I'm gonna go to the front, go into X-ray mode. So make sure you select the object and just press Alt-X. And now we can start the modeling process. So for now, I want to model the wood. The outer one will be a separate one, so okay, so let's select vertices. So I want to go up and just remove the half. So let's go on. Let's start reshaping. So I've just noticed the scale is on the squash, so this will not look good from the other side. So make sure that it is on the correct one. So I think I will have another view where I can see a different one from a different angle. So this will be shaded. Just to see what is going on. Okay. now let's model this object, but it seems a bit separate from this one. So I will be using the same mesh, since this is going to be a game asset. So for now I'll be doing a manual cutting, just based on what I'm saying. Let's have one of these viewports focus on the image. So we can make comparisons. So for now So right now we are done with this, and if we were to unwrap it, so all we have to do is just add the unwrap modifier to it and just use the circular one and just then peel. So right here, because this polygon is selected, we want to go back to the edit poly and say yes and just deselect everything. Make sure nothing is selected. Select the top level, then go back to the unwrap and then do a peel again. So right now we do not have the circular one, the cylindrical mapping, so we want to make sure this is selected, then do unpeel. You could also do like fit to fit the cylinder around the object. This is not moving. So it is not moving, but it's okay. So once you see this, go at the element level, then you can use the element, toggle by element, so when you select on it, select the whole thing and just move it offside. And the reason we're doing that, because once we join all the meshes together, it would be easy for us to place them in the appropriate 0 to 1 grid mapping. Just do that, then collapse all. And if you want at this moment, you could also apply a symmetry modifier and make sure it is on the right axis, so it should be on this axis, and let's flip it. You just need to extend some of these axes. So what I want to do right now, just select both borders or both edge loops and use the make planar to flush the edge out, so it should look like that. So when we turn on the symmetry, and then if we use the snapping tool and make sure it is snapped to vertex, we can snap it to one of the edge vertices and everything should look good. So it would be up to you if you want to add more depth to it. For example, the bottom one seems to need a little bit more of a depth, and the way to do that is, so you go to the polygon level and then you select these and maybe just add an FFD, maybe 3 by 3 I would say. So you would go into the control points, select the top ones, make sure snapping is off, and then just give it some depth. good. I'm sticking with that. And now let's go to this one. So this seems to be straightforward. All we need to do is just use a plane, extrude it a little bit, then reshape it. So we go into the front view and just make a simple plane. As I've done before, just apply a material to it and make sure you assign the color black for the wireframe. And let's reduce the number of segments to 1 and 1. And now let's convert that to an editable poly and start reshaping. So I'm going to go to the let's give it a shell. We could also have it, let's extrude it, so let's undo that. Let's go into polygon, select all, shift and extrude, and then we will apply the bevel modifier. So make sure it's So it looks like we have a lot of geometry here. So let's just remove a lot of it. So I'll be using a target weld. Since this is a game object, it's not a prop for a movie, so it's okay to have that. Okay, that looks good. So let's see how chamfered it is. So if we go front, I think it needs a little bit more. So like for example this one right here, it is going all the way in. And right here we shouldn't have that. And this one right here looks like a hook, so let's add another edge loop and make sure that it's going in. And this one is pointy, so you might want to do that. The looks of it right here, this is a bit more extruded, so we might have to remove those edges. And right now I can do a select border. Or no, maybe edges. Oh, for now, just split them. looks good for now. So we'll do the same. Just apply a UV editor, unwrap UV, and using a plane, maybe on the y-axis, and peel. Because again made the same mistake, make sure none of the polygon is selected, go to the object level, then open unwrap, then again, and then fit. So it's not being fitted to, but that's okay. And then peel. So we can see few issues here. For example, if you go into the edge level, this one is not welded, so we need to weld that or stitch it. We can stitch selected. Right here. So this is at the bottom. So let's do collapse all, and let's do hide unselected, because I want to see what's going on at the bottom of this object. So hide unselected, yeah, right here. So we're seeing, that's why we saw a hole within the UV. So if you select that, just delete that, and then let's open the UV editor. And now it has been fixed. So there used to be a bridge here, and now it's removed. So let's select the whole thing and let's offset it somewhere else, and let's collapse all. So right now, if we select these both objects and we add the unwrap, so we can see both of them. So this is, through that out. So let's add the added poly. Select both object and open an UV unwrap, and now we should be able to see both objects. So right now we might need to adjust how big this is. So what we can do is we force the checker pattern so we can see the mapping. So like the number of squares around here is much smaller than one in here, and you can tell why, because this is occupying much more real estate than this piece. So if you select this and maybe we make it smaller, maybe we can match the checker sizes, and this looks good. So maybe we can put it somewhere else close to it. Right click, then collapse all. Now let's make this piece right here. So I'm going to select this two and hide selection. and from the looks of it, that is one part, so I got it confused with this one. So let's do unhide all. So this is incorrect, so I'm going to delete those. And I'm going to select these two edges and just extrude it. And use target weld. Okay. Also, I think this whole thing should be on the side as well, just like that. Maybe this needs to be adjusted just a little bit. Okay, that's good. So now let's hide those two pieces. Hide selection, and then let's make this model. So same thing as before. We start with the plane, and then we build it from there. So just in case you don't want to see it in a shaded mode, so we'll apply this material and we'll give it a color black. So in the standard legacy one, you have a wireframe where you can see just the wireframe. That way it might makes it a lot easier just to create the outline before proceeding with the rest. So it makes it much easier to model. Now let's create this. And let's use the cut tool. just make sure there is a good spacing around, and maybe we do this one. So now we have 5 edges here. And now we'll extrude it. So we select all the polygons and we exit from wire mode and just shift and move up, and then we can bevel So based on the image, this seems the appropriate. Oh man, son of a. Okay, so we bevel. Let's go back to the front image and go into X-ray mode or wire mode and just and make sure we accept the changes, so I wouldn't make the same issue as the past, and let's make sure the edge flow is correct as well. So and also, since this is should be somewhat like, it should be a pointed edge, we'll need to weld this to this and this to that, and maybe we'll make it a bit thinner and make this okay. Now let's do a target weld and target weld. an edge constraint to move this, so I wouldn't have to. So we'll use a lot of edge constraint just to make sure that the flow of the edges is good. Once we are happy with it, with the final results, so I think this needs to just a little bit, just space them out. Okay, so this is good for now. Z to focus, and maybe one last thing to do is we could do auto smooth, and let's make the angle by 30 so that it will base it based on the edges. And let's do unhide all. And so this is good. And we'll proceed on with the next item, which is this one. So this is like a separate, and this seems to be a little bit on the curvy side. Maybe we'll add another edge loop. Let's move that down and move that a little bit. Let's make it edgy. So remember, we're building one half, the other half will be mirrored. And so let's do the unwrapping for this one. So let's do UV unwrap, and then we'll open the UV editor. So let's go into the projection. Maybe we'll use a box so it fits, and then unpeel. Okay, let's try a cylinder, make it fit, and then peel. We could also, what we could do is we can do reset UV, so it welds everything, and then we'll go into the cylinder. So it's already applied, so let's do and this saves me a lot of headache. So let's go into the edges and let's start welding or stitching. So we have the stitch selected, so you can select this blue box, and that does the last defaulted value, and then we'll select the element and move it away, and let's do collapse all, and let's select all of them and apply and wrap. You're supposed to do this, by the way, at the end, but this is just a tutorial. I'm showing you like how would they look like once they are unwrapped, but you're supposed to do like the unwrapping all together by the end. So you select this one and you want to compare in size. So for the rest of the item, I'll do them separately, but you can see compare the squares. This is small and this is big, so we'll scale it so that the boxes, the squares matches in size. And if you want to add more details to it, go ahead and make it bigger, that's fine. If the piece is more important, so the details on that piece is more important, that's fine as well. So like you can make it as big as you want. And let's do collapse all. And now we'll move on to the next element. So this is obviously a cylinder, so let's create a cylinder. And let's reset its position. And let's move it up. And now let's rotate it. Let's make sure it's local. So this will not cut it in half because it has the asymmetrical look to it. And let's convert it to an editable poly. And let's increase the size of it. And let's do another thing. So let's undo. Let's select the face and extrude again. And then select the edge ring, this time with the face, and let's do an extrude at a local position. So I want to make sure that to local normal, and let's make that just a little bit, and this is good. And let's delete those faces. So let's select one face and do grow, then delete. And now let's create that. So I will keep add it to this one. So let's do extrude, then using the scale tool, shift and hold to extrude again. So I'll be using local a lot with this one, so that way it goes with the direction of the geometry. And now let's shift to scale, extrude, and maybe move it up just a little bit, and then extrude again, and then again, and then extrude out, and then move it up. This time it's on a different direction, so I'm going to change it to view. Maybe rotate it just a little bit. So it follows the direction of the artwork. Let's do extrude again, and let's increase the size of it, and then extrude again, and then make it smaller. So the move is a bit extreme. Let's just adjust that. And let's finish it off. So I'm going to assign the wire. So I'm going to change it to the wireframe. So I'm going to apply this material to this object and change it to wire, so I can see what's going on here. And now let's change to edge. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. Let's do another extrude, scale, extrude, then scale down, then extrude, and adjust the angle of it. And I think for this one we might need to do extrude at local norm. So let's select the settings. So that seems fine. Let's extrude that again. And just make it big. Maybe at this angle. And then extrude. Another extrude. Then another extrude, and then we'll just collapse it. Okay, perfect. So let's take a look at it. That looks decent. So right here I do see some curviness to it, so maybe, so this seems to be a lot thinner than what we are seeing from the so this seems okay now. And this one right here, let's give it the curviness to it. And add an edge loop here, and just let's move those in, and let's move this one out. So far this is good. And now let's move on to the blade. So we will build two separate blades. And before I proceed, I wanna add a symmetry to these two objects. So you can do like a symmetry, and let's change the axis, and let's move the mirror to the other side, and make sure you check flip, and let's activate the snapping option and make sure it's set to vertex. And just that's it. This is good. And now let's build the blades. So I think I will build the blades. So these things is going to be on a separate object. So let's do that. So I'm going to create a plane again, and I will be building the outer one and then extrude it, then adjust, maybe bevel it, and from there we'll move on with the making the pointy edges. So again, let's add the material to it and shift it to wireframe. And now let's switch to let's convert it to an editable poly, then select those edges and start shaping. Since we cannot see anything from here, just make sure it extends beyond this point. Let's make sure snapping is off, and let's use the edge tool. Let's let's select vertices. And now let's add another edge. So I've decided not to extrude that, just add an edge to it, and then move these group of faces out. So let's activate the material and switch that to a vertex. So I am assuming that these faces supposed to be pushed out. Yeah, you just do that and move it out. And now let's add those cuts. So we can do that. Same thing here. Here as well. And here is one too. Let's switch to polygons and start deleting those faces. And as always, make sure it's connected to something. Okay. And let's make the other one. So we create a polygon or a plane, and let's apply the same materials, and let's make sure it's switched to wire, and let's go here and convert it to an editable poly, and let's make sure that it encompasses the whole outside. So And now let's make the internal part. And let's select these faces and extrude them out. Just move them out. And now let's add the cuts. And delete. And now let's hide these so we can focus on this piece. So same thing as before. So we create a plane, and let's apply the wire materials to it so we can see how it turns out, and let's convert it to an editable poly. So it is kinda important to know the shortcuts, makes your life a lot easier. So let's add bunch of edge loops so we can right here, just move that here. And let's add this piece, so it would be like that. So before we proceed any further, just let's select these faces and move them out, because we might need to make modifications that will alter the nature of the geometry. So right here now, at least we have an idea that So this is good. And now let's make the other one. Again, we'll create a plane. And let's apply the wire material. And now let's do unhide all. And let's select this and do Alt X. Let's do and remove the X-ray feature from it, and let's click M for materials, and let's turn off the wires so we can see the shaded material. And let's take these two and make sure they are inside the outer shell. For now, let's hide the reference image. Just go into layers and look for the frozen object and just hide it. So right here we can see, so this is fine. Okay, so what we want to do is select these two. Let's go to top and see. Let's make sure they are leveled. So I'll select this one, make sure snap is on, and within the snap make sure under option enable axis constraint, so we can only constrain it to this axis. So what we want to do is we want to change the pivot to the end vertex, so we can make sure that these two are aligned. And now this is good. And using the x-axis, let's make sure. And now this should be leveled. And let's select these two, and let's add a symmetry modifier. And before we're proceeding, let's also change the pivot of this one to one at the ends. So we go under hierarchy, and let's move it to one of these. Change, select the second one, and let's apply the symmetry modifier. Let's change the mirror and make sure its flip is on, and so this is good. And let's also go on this one and make sure it is snapped to one edge. So right now we want to add the depth to this one. So and right here, so I'm going to delete this one, and also Let's create an edge here. Okay. Now let's work on this one. And before we go any further, let's make sure that those edges are closed. So the way to do that, we just select these two edges and then we extrude, and then we use target weld, and same thing here. And then we have the last one. Okay, so this is good. We're done with this one, and let's deal with this one. Oh, by the way, this one right here, these polygons will never be seen, so we remove those. And let's go back to this one right here. So the easy way out, so since this is not a closed one, so I take my, I'll take the approach back, so we make sure we extrude, and then we start welding. And for here we just extrude, and using vertices we will target weld. So far this is good, but this one right here, because it seems to me that the faces needs to have their smoothing group recalculated, so I want to change that to 30 degrees and auto smooth. And let's do unhide all. And now we have the entire element. Okay, so let's unwrap this one. So let's go under unwrap. Let's make sure this is using a cylinder, and let's make sure it is fit. So let's go back to the object select, because we have a bunch of faces selected, so we want to make sure that nothing is selected. So we want to deselect all, go back to unwrap, enable the cylinder, and let's make sure it's fit. Maybe if we go to polygons and select all, then go back here, I think if we do, we can have it fit. There we go. And let's do unpeel. So far this is not as bad. So let's do hide unselected. And let's go to a polygon level. Maybe we need this deleted. And this is not a symmetric object, so we cannot just use symmetry. So we can always do reset if we don't like how it was, so we can do that and then peel again. So right now I think I want to select an edge and make that that's where the seam is selected, because I'm assuming this is where the most unshown part of the sword, part of the axe. So right here we do right click and then break selected. So now we have created a seam throughout. Maybe we want to undo that. So we want to make sure that these are unselected. And then break selected. And now if we do unpeel, this is how it would look like. So maybe we want to weld those, so we can stitch. So let's select this, let's break it and do select, stitch selected. And let's select all and relax it. So make sure you save your work and let's and I see a conflict here, so maybe you want to select all of it and maybe just and right here this is needs to be stitching, need to be stitched, then select these again, maybe rotate, and then let's see if there is an overlap. There isn't. This is much better, so okay. So this is good. So I'm moving this aside and I'm going to do a collapse all, and let's do unhide all. So we have added a UV to this one, and let's add a UV to this one as well. So let's select this object and let's select unwrap UV. So I will be selecting a plane, so maybe I select the faces first, select all, and then go back into unwrap. I just want a plane because with the plane you can and then peel. So I had to do it manually because it just wasn't responding. And let's select the edge, make sure this is stitched, and maybe let's relax it a little bit. That's good enough. And let's do collapse all. Same thing here. Let's go into the object level, let's select all, and let's do unwrap UV. So the plane is selected. Let's do peel. So we have this, Looks good. Maybe we just relax it a little bit. So it took time to calculate, so let's make it bigger. Move it out and collapse too, because we do not want to include the symmetry with the collapse. And now we have these two left. And let's make sure that those end vertices is moved to so it should be like that. Now this is good. So let's unwrap. Make sure that all polygons are selected. So select all. Go into unwrap. And then peel. And now let's relax it. This is good. Let's move it aside. Let's see, let's collapse on. And now we have this one left. Now let's unwrap it. Let's go to plan view. Change the axis, so maybe go back into editable poly, select all faces, go back into unwrap and select so. And peel. Okay, that's good. Maybe move it. Move it somewhere and do collapse all. So this one right here, so maybe, so let's hide the symmetry, let's hide unselected. maybe this needs to be hidden, so let's add the bridge. And let's select this border and cap it. And maybe now we need to add an editable unwrap just to see how it looks. So this time I will select a box because we have closed faces on the other side, so it might be valuable just to do that. And then we'll just do unpeel or peel. And this is, I hit that. So we'll keep that out of reach. Let's start selecting those and stitch them. let's select those faces and let's relax them. Anyway, this is good. Let's do collapse 2. And let's do unhide all. And let's add some symmetry to this game object. Now, maybe let's make this a bit too low. Now I am fixing the UV since I've added new faces to the model, so you should always do that if you make any adjustment, especially if you're adding like new faces to it. So you will need to update the UV. So if something like this happens, all you have to do is just reset. And maybe apply a different editor. So I will select all and reset. And then so I'm going to select these faces because they're not very responsive, and I'm going to break it so I can move it apart. And same thing here. It seems that this is also making an issue, so I will break those as well. And then select all and peel it. And now I can make those stitches easily, so I'll switch to the edge and stitch selected. So now select all and make sure you relax it just a little bit, and maybe you want to see the checker on it, so you make sure that everything is well balanced. And once that is good, collapse all. Let's do unhide all. And now let's select the whole thing. And so if anything has a symmetry, I'm going to remove it. And I will select the whole thing, add a UV editor, unwrap UV. Open UV editor, and now let's put them all in one area. Also apply the checker so you can see. So like you can tell that we want these blades to have the greatest details, so we make sure that they do have that level, they do have that space. So my apologies, I'm back. My computer got crashed. So anyway, so right now what we want to do is so we want to select everything and put the UV in one area. So let's select this, let's select the other half. I'm going to go into the edit mode, select those faces and delete. Now, so for now I'm done with the reference image. So I'm going to hide that as well. Okay, so I'm going to select all of them. I'm gonna go unwrap UV, open UV editor. So we do not want to do unpeel or peel, so we just want to do pack and scale everything. So let's add some padding so we can, there would be enough space between objects. So this is your chance to make sure which part of the UV you want to add more details. So the bigger one, the more details you want to give it to. So for example this one, so if we select the object mode and select this one right here, we can make it smaller. You can check to see the pattern. So maybe you wanna, so for example this one, so would be this. So I think we want to give this one a bigger piece. And this one as well. And so it rescaled them, so we don't want that. So make sure we uncheck rescale. So you can use the same shortcut as if you're modeling with the UV. So for now this is good. So we'll save the file, and what we want to do is now we want to render a UVW map. So I'm going to stick with 1024 10 by 1024. So right now here this is not well relaxed, so let's select this one and let's do so this is good. It is good to always catch any issues first. So I am seeing an issue here. So we see an overlap. So let's see what happens if we do that again. Yeah, it unscales, so we don't want that. No. Okay, so let's run the UVW map and let's save it. And save. So what we could do now also, if we want to, so make sure you collapse all. So when you apply